Good evening. My name is Carla Adkins, and I'm a school-based occupational therapist currently working in the Moses Lake School District in Eastern Washington. I've been working here for a little over 3 years, and I've been a member of the Moses Lake Education Association for that time. For my OTD advocacy assignment, I'm focusing on the growing need to shift from a traditional caseload model to a workload model in school-based occupational therapy. According to the Occupational Therapy Framework, 4th edition, professional advocacy is an essential responsibility of occupational therapy practitioners. This issue directly impacts not only occupational therapists, but the students, families, and educational teams we support every day. I also want to acknowledge that Moses Lake has been in the news recently due to an upcoming MLEA teacher strike. I want to be clear that I am not speaking on behalf of the union or the district, but one of the central concerns being raised is the need for more manageable workloads for educators. That conversation directly parallels the reality faced by related service providers, including occupational therapists, physical therapists, and speech-language pathologists across the country. If this strike results in meaningful change for teachers, the next natural step will be for related service providers to advocate for a workload model of service delivery as well. Currently, in many school districts, therapists are evaluated almost entirely by the number of students on their caseload, rather than by the true workload demands required for ethical, legal, and effective service delivery. The caseload model does not account for indirect and yet mandatory responsibilities, such as evaluations, reevaluations, IEP meetings and documentation, the teacher consultation and classroom collaboration, participation in the MTSS or RTI programs, scheduling and coordinating services across multiple campuses, travel time between schools, Medicaid billing, and compliance documentation. AOTA, ASHA, and APTA have all recognized that caseload numbers alone are not an adequate measure of the professional responsibilities in school-based practice. A workload model more accurately reflects the actual job duties and promotes sustainability. Without change, therapists continue to experience burnout, high turnover increases, and students are at risk of receiving fewer or less effective services. During the 2024-2025 school year in Moses Lake, multiple therapists, including myself, carried caseloads of over 100 students. Some carried individual caseloads exceeding 65 to 75 students for extended periods of time. At the beginning of this current school year, I personally had over 90 students on my caseload again, and for at least 6 weeks, that number climbed over 100 students. It currently still sits in the 90s. In the last 10 weeks, I have completed 15 evaluations, attended approximately 28 IEP or evaluation meetings, averaged 3 to 4 IEP meetings per week, and continued providing services 3 to 4 days per week direct to students, all while supervising a COTA who is also providing services directly to about 40 students. In addition, many of our supervising OTs are providing supervision, direct supervision to certified occupational therapy assistants who are each maintaining a caseload of around 40 students or more weekly. Even when some students are consult only, the workload is still overwhelming due to the scheduling challenges, the ongoing collaboration needs, documentation requirements, repeated communication with staff and families, and the legal compliance responsibilities. Since the beginning of my career in 2005, I have worked across multiple states in Texas, Arizona, Idaho, and Washington. I have watched school-based OT services steadily erode, from weekly visits to monthly or even quarterly check-ins, not because students require less support, but because therapists no longer have the time or the capacity to provide more. Push-in service models are identified as best practice in our field. However, the reality is that they can take weeks to coordinate around student schedules, teacher planning times, lunch times, recess, school activities, and specials. These hidden time demands are never reflected in a simple caseload number. A workload model would shift the focus away from the number of students, and instead it would consider the total direct contact hours with students, the indirect service responsibilities, the number of meetings, evaluations, and consultations therapists have to provide, the travel time between schools, documentation and compliance tasks, and prevention and early intervention supports that therapists are able to provide across the district. Districts that have implemented these workload models have reported improved therapist retention, better compliance with IDEA, higher quality services, increased staff morale, and improved student outcomes. A widely used tool that supports this approach is the school-based OT workload calculator, which is available at schoolbasedot.com. This calculator allows districts to measure the true demands placed on therapists in a way that is data-driven and transparent. A workload model gives special education administrators a clearer picture of staff needs and provides a more sustainable service delivery system. My proposed action is that Moses Lake School District pilot a workload model for related service providers, starting with occupational therapy during the 2025-2026 school year. This could include tracking therapists' workload for one semester, using an evidence-based informed workload calculator, reviewing impact on service delivery, compliance, and staff well-being. Use findings to inform future staffing and district policies. Our special education director has already shown interest in learning more about this approach, and some nearby districts have begun using similar models with positive outcomes. The format I would use to present this advocacy effort would be a professional email with a written proposal to our special education director and district leadership. A follow-up meeting, either virtual or in person, could discuss the feasibility and the data. Future collaboration with MLEA leadership to potentially include a workload language in our related service provider contracts. The audience includes our special education director, district leadership team, human resources, and union leadership. These are the individuals with the authority to influence and implement systematic change. Transitioning to a workload model is not about reducing stress for therapists, but it is about protecting ethical practice, improving student outcomes, and building a sustainable system that supports both staff and students long term. If nothing changes, we will continue to see higher turnover, reduced services, increased compliance risk, and frustrated families. But if we take action now, Moses Lake School District has the opportunity to be a regional leader in progressive, ethical, and sustainable service delivery. Thank you for the opportunity to share this message. I hope you guys all had a great semester.